Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another double spending episode. Today, I've got one with Phil Kennedy, my man. We had Gerald Celente and Gregory Mannarino on for a roundtable, and we talked about the Federal Reserve. We talked COVID-19. They believe the overreaction of COVID-19 and its lockdown is causing more financial damage than the virus would do itself. Let me know your comments in the section below. And also, there's a surprise guest at the end. Our guy, John Kim, calls in. So we had a great conversation with him at the tail end of this video. So make sure you guys stay around for that. You like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this. I'm out of here, people. Ha!
All right, back at it again on the heels of our interview with UFC's Nick Lentz. What an awesome week, and what a great way to end it. You know who the guests are. We've got them teed up there on the thumbnail. But first, got to send a shout out to everyone who brings you the show live, our gracious Patreon supporters, our supporting listeners. We couldn't do it without you. Many thanks to all these gentlemen. Indeed, they are all gentlemen. Hopefully we'll get our first lady in there someday. Thanks to you for keeping the show going. Really appreciate it. Joined by my co-host today, Crypto Blood. You know him at Twitter on at CryptoBlood_. And of course, our illustrious guests, we got Gerald Celente from trendsresearch.com, and joined by one of his new writers over at the Trends Journal, Gregory Mannarino. Gentlemen, good to have you on Kennedy Financial. Gerald, I will start with you. You know, we had the best April since the Depression, and now on the heels of that, market down like 2.5%, coupled with some civil unrest all around the country. So you're the trends expert. What's going on through your mind today here on May 1st, 2020?
Well, not only do we have the best month, we also just had the best NASDAQ since June of 2000. Isn't that great? Yeah, June of 2000. What happened in March of 2000? Oh, the dot-com bust. Oh, 1974. Everything was great. I mean, it was, when it started the whole inflation cycle going on, things started going nuts in the early 1970s. They keep comparing these market bounces to either the 1930s, or now they're doing it to the dot-com bust. This thing is artificially propped up, and it has makes absolutely no sense. You're looking at, wouldn't it be great to own those airline stocks and those cruise stocks that bounce up on every little note that they could push them up on? And so, no, this thing is going down to levels that we've never seen before in history, considering that what's going on. There's never been a time when the whole globe has been shut down and business has been shut down. So now they're announcing that they're coming back, and Starbucks is going to reopen, but you can't come in and sit down. I mean, first of all, I could never drink that stuff, so yeah. But, I grind my own coffee. I had a nice espresso. But people go in there to feel important and look at their computers, and now you can't go in there. Macy's is going to go open up, but we're going to have restrictions on how far you can stand apart and how many people could come in. Macy's was doing great before this happened. They were just on fire. So no, the whole thing is a fraud, and it's being pumped up right in front of our eyes by the Federal Reserve. And particularly the U.S., the New York Feds. And who owns them? The banks. And let's get this in everybody's head. Fed. And how about that using, as they say, it's as Federal Express. We're Fed. And people should be fed up with it. But, again, you look at the cover of the Trends Journal. Dumb enough to believe George Bush's war. Dumb enough to believe the COVID war. People will buy anything.
Yep, I agree with you 100%.
Greg, you're now contributing to the Trends Journal. I've got one of your recent articles here. What's your reaction to Gerald's words?
Well, he's 100% right. I think, look, what we need to understand is the environment we're in. It's completely, there you go. It's absolutely upside down. We have a dead economy, not just here in the United States, but it's a global thing. And the market seems to be propelling higher. Again, this is just funny money being thrown into a black hole, and they're getting more creative with the ways they're doing it. I mean, all kinds of backdoor stuff is going on. You got the Fed buying corporate debt. They're buying every form of debt you can think about. The backdoor bailouts, front door bailouts. They're apparently going to bail out the New York subway as well, subway system.
Mm-hmm.
You got a market that has no bearing on reality whatsoever. What do I tell my traders all the time, my lions? I say, trade the fakery. There is our strength. Realizing how fake this is our strength here. And all I want to do, all I want for my people that follow my work and anybody else who has a few functioning brain cells is to be on the right side of this. I frankly don't care where the market goes. It doesn't matter to me. If the market dumps, I'm going to short it. If the market's long, I'm going to going higher. I'm going to be buying calls. So it's pretty much that's it. I trade the market I have. I'm done picking tops and bottoms. We can't do this anymore. When we got trillions of dollars being funneled into this market, funneled around the world by the Federal Reserve, who has the balance sheet we're allowed to see, and then they have the dark money balance sheet we're not allowed to see. They're both ballooning. As long as they keep inflating these balance sheets, well, the market's going to remain completely fake, completely rigged. And so, I mean, it makes our lives simple. I mean, for me, it just boils down to understanding where cash is going to go in an environment like this. I just try to track it to the best of my ability, try to keep on top of it to the best of my ability, and tell everyone where I think it's going to go. I've been, honestly, I'm not like tooting my own horn, but anyone who follows my work knows that I've been insanely accurate for a very, very long time. And again, it's not because I'm any smarter than anybody else. I just work around the clock. I literally work around the clock on this stuff. But understanding the fake environment we are in, it's so fake. It's so rigged. It is so twisted. Makes no sense, just like Gerald just said. I mean, it's incredible. So, I mean, that's our strength. And, keeping on top of these trends, understanding where they're going. Well, you're talking to the man right over there, Gerald Celente. He's the king, undisputed of this. I can't tell you how much I respect this man's work. It's unbelievable. And again, this is how we all make the situation work.
Yeah, I want to ask both of you guys. I saw an article, I think it was out of Zero Hedge from Nassim Taleb. He's the Black Swan guy. He kind of coined that. Do you think this pandemic is a black swan? Surprisingly enough, he said that it wasn't. He thinks this isn't a black swan. What do you guys think about this pandemic?
Well, I think that the Chinese blew it up for a definite purpose. You go back to our Trends journals, and January 28th, the headline read, "Coronavirus, 106 dead in China." And then we had the next line, 1.4 billion still alive. What the hell are you telling me 106 people died? What? Oh, you mean only 1.5 million died last year because of air pollution? Oh, it's so great over there, all that coal burning stuff and all the other filth. And so what happened is that they kept pumping it up. And what did it do? There was a thing going on since several months ago. There were protests in Hong Kong that they couldn't put down, no matter how they tried. Guess what? They put them down. One of our top trends for 2020 was New World Disorder. There were protests in Hong Kong, in France, in Lebanon, in Algeria, in Chile, in Peru, in Colombia, in Algeria, in South Africa, in India. Look at India. India was racking with strikes. They had the citizenship law. People were out in the streets. India was going down the crap, and they had 7 consecutive quarters of declining growth. They had over 1 million people out of work just in the auto industry. This is in 2019. And then the citizenship law this is going on. You know how many died there's a population of 1.3 billion. A filthy, dirty, squalid place, fog and debris everywhere. About 500 people died. When they locked down the joint, about 8 people died. 500 people out of 1.3 million? Oh, and look at the United States. We got, what, 65,000 dead out of a population of 330 million? And who's dying? The facts are all there. They're the elderly, chronically ill elderly, people that are obese, diabetics, people suffering from lung disorders, pulmonary conditions, heart diseases. So again, to answer the question, the Chinese started it, I believe, to clamp down, and they blew it up way out of proportion, because even if they're lying about their numbers, we'll quadruple them in there. What are you still dead with? Again, 1.4 billion. Let's say 100,000 died in China. It's not even close to that. It's no number at all. And then what happened is that the other nations took advantage of this to close down their demonstrations and riots. And then the politicians, or politics, right? Politics, many ticks, sucking the blood out of you. Look up the definition of politician, someone that's manipulative and devious, typically to gain advancement within an organization. Google it up. They took advantage of it. They're power-hungry freaks from coast to coast. Look at that little boy Newsom over there, closing down the beaches. Who's making up this crap of social distancing? Oh, in Europe, it's a meter. Oh, in the United States, it's 6 feet. Oh, in Germany and France, it's 4.5 feet. And oh, in the beaches, you got to be, who the hell you talking to? Social distancing in a beach? Did you ever hear a wind, breezes blow on the beach? They're making this crap up. So again, they have taken advantage of the situation. And again, as we detailed in the Trends Journal, another little low-life piece of garbage crap from the Cartoon News Network over there, CNN. Oh, remember how we had to see little Chrissy Cuomo? I shit my tooth. I'm so sick of him. How come he didn't die? Look at it every day. We had to watch this. I wouldn't watch it, but I got to see it because I'm looking through stuff. And his little brother, who signed an executive order to give him, before this happened, slipping in legislation so he could become the power broker. They're making this stuff up. So going back to the facts, on the mainstream media, no one was tuning into CNN. You had that little Anderson Cooper, another little boy born on third base and thought he had a home run. Another little nothing. Mommy was Gloria Vanderbilt. You got it? It's one big club and we're not in it. You listen to that guy Zucker, or put an F and get rid of that Z, and it's out of the Wall Street Journal telling his people to keep promoting the coronavirus, even after they were doing it for weeks, to bring up the ratings. So it's the prostitutes that pushed it and the demented politicians that took advantage of it.
What about you, Greg? What do you think about this this whole, some call plandemic? Others think it's a real situation, whether or not you do or you do or don't. Is it something that's going to prick this bubble? Did it come out of nowhere and surprise everyone and will be the catalyst for the next downturn?
Well, if we want to talk about an economic bubble, we were in free fall of the economy around the world, in the United States as well, was in free fall prior to the release or disbursement of this virus. There is no doubt about it. They're using this as an excuse, just like Gerald said. They're all trying to take advantage of this thing. They're all going to latch onto it. Oh, no. We were booming. It was fantastic. It's the coronavirus fault. We had manufacturing falling off the cliff. I outlined this blow by blow months before the coronavirus hit. Service sector melting down. I mean, we could go on and on, but that's the case. They're all going to end. This gets way bigger. Now you got the Federal Reserve in here buying everything, being the lender and buyer of last resort, owning it all. This has been their goal since the get-go. They could not be happier about the current situation, issuing funny money around the world to central banks around the world so they can buy assets. That's what this is all about. It's a takeover on an unprecedented scale. And again, going back to what Gerald said, is 100% right. Every angle they can use to their benefit, are going to use this to their benefit. And frankly, I'm going to say it, screw the people as hard as they can, and then more. That's the environment we are in. It's perverted. It's disgusting. It's hideous. And, finally, I think people are starting to rise up a little bit and protest against this. This is a horrid thing that they're doing to us. They're stealing away our liberties, stealing away our freedoms. And then you've got all the mainstream financial channels out there and mainstream media channels out there saying, oh, this is the right thing. You got to do this. You got to do that. Come on. What is this? What happened to our country? Does no one have a backbone anymore? Is this what we've reduced ourselves to? It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic.
Well, how
again,
much
you could just
longer
look
can it go
what's
on?
going on in Sweden. They didn't close down the place.
No, exactly.
They have a death rate, similar to Ireland's. They just locked down. And again, you look around the country, you look around the world, the places that didn't close down. This is only, again, if they wanted to quarantine people, they should have quarantined the people that are susceptible to it.
Exactly. That's exactly what they should have done. And they didn't do that. They handled this thing ass backwards for a reason. It's about control. It's always what they want to see, what they can get away with.
100% right.
Yeah. It's
100% for control. They're control freaks. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, just a little quick background. I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate at 25 years old. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes. So I've been in DC. I used to be the chief government affairs specialist for the chemical industry back in the 70s. I know what the deal looks like. And these are the same people you hated in high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. They're the ones that are running and ruining our lives. And they've come up with a stupid phrase to show you how sick it all is. Now, this is the new normal.
Oh, that drives me crazy. This is exactly the new normal. This is the new reality. It's so twisted. It's a brainwashing scheme.
That's
What
it.
it is. They're trying to twist people. And some people, sadly, I know them personally, are having their brains twisted. They're buying it. They're buying it. It gets me enraged that they're buying it, but what am I supposed to do? There are some people that are going to get it and some people that just won't, no matter. You could tell people that water is wet or the sky is blue, they won't believe it. It's just the way it is.
We got questions coming in, gentlemen. One in particular that I'm scrolling back to find. This one coming from TMM. Gerald, to you. How long does Gerald and Greg think this current situation will go on for? I'm here in Virginia. Our top health official thinks, we're going to do this for another 2 years. I told Mrs. Kennedy we will be moving to a new state if he thinks that's really going to happen. But your reaction, Gerald?
Well, think of the word top health official. How about go screw yourself? Who the hell are you? You're some lousy little bureaucrat that got brought in there because of your buddies, that top health official. Official jerk, an official parrot. So they're making this stuff up. That clown Newsom said this is going to go on. How the hell does he know? And again, look at your numbers. What are we talking about globally now? About 275,000 people? Right?
Yeah.
Out of a population of 7.7 billion people? Hey, how many did they kill in Iraq over there? Only 1 million. How about that war in Yemen? Now, screw them. You mean we're the worst humanitarian crisis on earth? Where over 10 million people are starving to death? That doesn't mean anything. We got 2,000 deaths over here. All right? So no, the health official, these are sick people. They're demented and they're power-hungry freaks.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. I completely agree. And it'll go on as long as they want it to, as long as they're going to get people to buy it without, like I said, people have no backbone anymore. It's a charade that's been sold. Look at these numbers like Gerald is throwing out. They're all correct. It's an absolute joke. But they got people afraid. That's their goal. Make them afraid of one thing and you have them under your power. And that's exactly what they're doing. It's mass brainwashing. They're creating some kind of hysteria here so they can control people. It's all about control, and they will string this along as long as they want to. It's also a culling on an unprecedented scale. They're destroying mom and pop shops, small businesses, they're being shuttered all over the place. So the corporations now, because we have a merger between corporate America and this new America, they're taking over. So they don't want those mom and pop shops anymore. They want them gone. And that's also what's going on here. It's incredible. Absolutely.
That's very important what Greg just said. And you're seeing it now, when that clown Bernie Sanders was running, I'm going to give you free education. I'm going to give you free healthcare. Oh, if we get a socialist there, how about socialism for the rich? Like Greg pointed out, they're buying junk bonds.
Mm-hmm.
How about socialism for the rich? They're bailing out the big airlines. What the hell do I care about American Airlines? When I was a young guy flying back in the 70s, first class, there were 150 airlines. Another little slimy piece of crap who everybody loves, Jimmy Carter. He was the one that deregulated the airline industry. Everybody paid, you paid the same fees everywhere. They all competed on service. Oh, it was great to fly. And that Jimmy Carter, he's the one that did away with the usury laws too. So when you're talking about the bigs getting bigger, that's exactly what they're doing. The money's all going to the bigs. They're giving us little chump change. So it's capitalism for we the people, and it's socialism for the rich.
So what's the solution, guys? I mean, we always, I always have guests on. Phil always has guests on that talk about the problem. Where do we go from here? How do we protect ourselves? I know, Greg, you're more of a active trader, so that's one method for you. But what about people who aren't active traders? What would you guys suggest they do? I mean, not financial advice, but in that scenario, what should an average Joe six-pack do in this scenario?
Well, do what they're doing in Michigan. They're going over there and telling the governor to go to hell.
Exactly. Get together.
And start fighting. And the other thing too is, you get in the best shape you can, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Double down, double up on what you're doing. Get in better shape. And I believe in direct democracy. The Republicans and Democrats, give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
The gang. How many more wars do they have to start based on lies? And how much more money they have to steal in the name of too big to fails and everything else? So direct democracy, like they have in Switzerland. They haven't been in a war since the 1850s. Hey, did you ever hear of World War I, World War II? Weren't they close by? All right? They're the banking place. It's about money, and the people vote on the issues. And I want to see blockchain technology. If they could transfer trillions of dollars around the world in milliseconds, we should be able to vote online. And we should be able to make the decisions. You want to close down the state? Let the people vote. No, I'm the governor. Hey, governor, screw you.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell do you think you are? Oh, I'm Andy Cuomo, born on third base, thought I hit a home run. I'm going to name the bridge after my daddy. We're not going to call it the Tappan Zee Bridge anymore. Who the hell are you? Let the people vote. Direct democracy, that's my answer to change it. And if the people think the people are too stupid, look at the morons we have running us. Oh, Nancy Pelosi's smarter than you? Maybe Chucky Schumer is. I know little Lindsey Graham. Did you come out of the closet yet, Lindsey? He's smarter than you. Oh, yeah, who else do we got out there? One jerk after another. So direct democracy to me is the only way out. Let the people decide their future.
Absolutely. That's a big one. I think, and I've been urging people to do this for a very, very long time. Start getting together with like-minded people. Realize that, we're not each other's enemies. I can't tell you how many times I've said that. They're trying to divide us, try to get us to hate each other through any mechanism possible. So if we realize that what they're trying to do, just realize that they're lying to you deliberately to keep people separated. Social distancing, let's keep it 4.5 feet, 3.5 feet, 6 feet, whatever. No. Get together with like-minded people, create support groups. It's got to start somewhere, and it's got to start small, but educate yourself, pay attention to shows like this, pay attention to people like Gerald Celente, seriously, subscribe to the Trends Journal. It's probably one of the best things I've ever read in my life. I mean, you're on top of this like nobody else, Gerald, and I'm telling you, this is the truth. I told you before the interview, I loved you and I mean it.
Thank you.
But sincerely, this is what we need to do. educate people, get people to understand what's happening around them. And maybe if they understand the issues, they can do something about it. Until that time, they're going to be walking through time and space like zombies, listening to all these people that are supposed to have a big name because they know better than we do. We can't make our own decisions. What do you think we are, children? They want to grab us, and pull us around here like a dog. No, it ain't happening to me. There's no way. But that's what we need to do. Realize we're not each other's enemies. Come together. Stop believing in each other. Realizing we are responsible for each other, and and try to think of a way we can make a difference in the world by doing one thing a day, maybe a week that's positive for somebody else that maybe you don't even know. It's got to start somewhere. Might as well start with us.
Yeah, the guy I follow, Tom Woods, got some traction today with one of his tweets. I think he lives in Florida, but he took a short vacation to Georgia because the state finally opened up there. He tweeted, "I'm eating this in a restaurant. I realize this makes me a right-wing extremist." We have 50 laboratories here in the United States, and frankly, I don't think it's government's job to try to keep everyone safe and secure. I find it a little ironic. CB and I have gone back and forth with this. I was a lifeguard in college. We never once shut down the beaches with police officers for big surf. But now apparently police officers are on the beaches of California to protect people from coronavirus. So we got to go into the close here. Gerald, what is your final word, and where else would you like to refer folks for more information about yourself, the Trends Journal, etc.?
My final word is picking up on what Greg said. For the people to take action. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. And that's our only way out. And we could have a renaissance. Remember, the Renaissance followed the Black Plague. So, hey, we don't have a Black Plague here, nothing close to it, but we have that kind of fear factor. So if we don't bring back liberty, love, joy, and beauty, it's going to be more misery. You can't have a lot of fun. It's not allowed anymore. So, and again, if you want to subscribe to the Trends Journal, it's trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. It's a weekly magazine. And I have to say there, not because it's I'm the publisher, but there's no other magazine like it. We say what's going on, what it means, and what's next. So we're helping the people prepare for the future. And by the way, on my gold forecast on June 6th of 2019, our headline was the gold bull run. Gold was $1,332. As of Friday, it's over 1,700. Gold has to break over about 1,740, 1,730, stay in that range for a while, and then I believe it's going to spike well past 2,000.
Well, that's why people are tuning in. They want to hear that information. By the way, they can get their Make Gold Money Again mug in the KF store. Always have mine at the ready. What about you, Greg? Where else can folks find you, and what's your final word this evening?
Well, I'm kind of everywhere. Just go to my website, traderschoice.net. You can follow my work there. But I just want to play off what Gerald just said real quick with regard to gold. We're in an environment of parabolic debt. Parabolic. We've never seen anything like it. So what does that mean for people from a financial standpoint here? In a world of parabolic debt, you want to be taking the opposite side of that. So you want to be in an instrument like gold, like silver. I also believe in cryptocurrencies as well. All of you know that. But honestly, in a world of parabolic debt, you can only imagine that assets, certain kinds of assets, gold, silver, I happen to love silver, it's my favorite, they're going to go higher, much, much higher. In the face of, corruption that's in our face. How many times has JP Morgan been caught rigging the price of everything? How's that? But especially metals, look, let them play their game. We're going to play our game, period, the end. But in the end, what does this all come down to? Again, just like I said, understand that we are not each other's enemies. We need to come together. We need to embrace each other as a worldwide family. And these corrupt, demented, and that was the right word Gerald used, twisted psychopaths that are running everything. No, we got to make a stand. We got to make a stand, and it's got to start somewhere. So let it start with us.
Good deal.
Just one other thing I'd like to say. I too believe in the cryptocurrencies as well, because again, they're just printing up digital money backed by nothing and printed on nothing in countries around the world. And smart people are looking for alternatives.
Good. Well, that's where CB comes in. That's what we're going to talk about in the bottom half of the show. We're going to let you gentlemen sign off. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Extremely valuable to us, and you're both heroes. And Gerald, next time I see you at a Ron Paul event, I'm going to cut in line and come introduce myself. Thanks for doing this.
If we have the event this year, he invited me to speak, but that's if we have it.
Well, let's hope we do. If any event should continue, right, it would be a Ron Paul event, because people
Amen. I love him.
Yeah, people should be free to do what they want, whether they want to go to church or a restaurant, you name it. Grocery stores are open, right? So you could just as easily catch the coronavirus there. All right. Well, I'll let you guys sign off. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll politely thank you over email after you sign off here. We'll bring in CB. As Gerald mentioned there, the cryptos are a place that he likes. Let's check in, as we are now 10 days, CB, away from the halving. Bitcoin approaching 9,000, was over 9,000 at one point. Litecoin was over $50, I think, for a brief minute. Now it's at 48. Yep. So let's bring CB back in. Hopefully my audience will forgive me for a second. Thanks to everybody tuning in live. We'll continue to take your questions. Let me get the thing lined up so that CB looks sharp, as he always does. So CB, let me get your reaction first, because, obviously everybody's got different opinions. You and I have gone back and forth with this. Maybe you don't necessarily agree with everything that the gentleman had to say, but there's a free market of ideas, right?
Absolutely. And I love Gerald Celente. I've had him on my show. I've had Greg on my show as well. And that's the thing, Phil. I think the audience is best served if we all have a difference in opinions. I think in general, I agree with them as far as the system and what's going on. We definitely disagree about the coronavirus and the severity of it. So, that's where we kind of differ. But as far as cryptos, man, I still am not convinced that we're done with going lower. We hit a big area of resistance at 9,400, 9,460, I believe. I told my chat room the night it happened that was going to be the peak, and it surely was. So we're going to trade here and just try to figure out where we're going to go from here. Again, if everyone looks at it, I started talking about this earlier in the year. Equities, I should say, cryptos have become highly correlated, positively correlated with equities. So you just got to watch that. And if you believe the equities are going to go lower, then you have to believe that cryptos are going to go lower in the short run. So that's just where my position is with everything. I still think crypto is the best game to be in long term, even short term. In the next 2 years, 12 months, man, I think cryptos are going to be yet again another outperforming asset class as it was in the past.
Yeah, it is a little bit scary how correlated cryptos have been with the stock market recently. Yeah. I mean, that's why guys like you and me initially got into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I think it's because we wanted something that could be an asymmetrical asset. And now to just see it trading up and down along with the traditional markets, some people have been weighing in, Rand Newer there from CNBC's crypto show, kind of poking fun at people who believe, look, it's uncorrelated. He's like, look at these charts. It's like up and down with each other over the last, 6 months, something like that.
I had Max Kaiser on earlier today, and I asked him the same question, and he's like, and he makes a good point. He's like, yeah, okay. If you have an asset class that's, you zoom out 5 years, it's not, if it has a zero correlation or roughly around there, then of course, in some periods you will see correlation or non-correlated price behavior. So we're just in a correlated price situation right now, which is kind of frustrating because, again, as you stated, that was the whole point initially in a lot of people being enticed into this new asset class was, hey, I need another area, another asset class that I can go into when things hits the fan in the equities and bond market. And unfortunately, it's not panning out that way. And I think people need to be more just be honest and just state, okay, yeah, this is not acting in the manner that we thought it would. Doesn't mean that it's not a good asset class to be in long term, as I just stated.
Well, another thing out there that I've liked for quite some time, it's sound money, because as they say, it makes a sound, right? I always have a little bit of silver at the ready. But one of our viewers, Tony S., pointing out, look, what's up with silver? It's dropped over 50% since 2011. How long are we going to keep this thing going? Is it going higher? What's your reaction, CB? Do you pay attention to gold and silver at all as much as cryptos?
A little bit, yeah. I pay attention to all asset classes really, and because you have to, if you want to have a good view and impulse on the markets, you got to look at all of them. You got to look at commodities. You have to look at equities and bonds and stuff and debt markets. And I believe, man, Phil, I think that we're heading lower with commodities as well. I know that's not what people want to hear, but I really personally think if we're going to have a deflationary spiral, which I think we will, you're going to see prices pull back before they do head higher. And it's evident in NERP, right? In zero interest rates or negative interest rates. Deutsche Bank now doing, charging 0.5% on any accounts above 100,000. That's a deflationary reaction. Because if you think about it, the market, I wouldn't have, if I have $100,000, Phil, I'm not going to have a problem sitting my money in the bank, losing 0.5%, 50 basis points. If I know I'm going to lose even more money being in stocks or being in real estate or being in precious metals, I think that is a telltale sign that they're trying to fight this deflationary spiral that we're going to see first. And that's just my position on it. So I think lower for all assets, to be honest, or most. I shouldn't say all. You'll probably see some price inflation in the goods and services that we buy. But that's about it.
Hey, speaking of Bitcoin, we didn't cover altcoins. My favorite altcoin, I don't even think it's an altcoin, to be honest, is Litecoin. We got the great John Kim tuning in live.
I know he's been trolling all day.
He's been trolling all day.
I'm trying to keep my composure.
Yeah, you're a professional. So don't forget to tune into John's show on Wednesday and Saturday nights.
Hello, John.
The Masked Influencer. Man, he's been getting some incredible guests over there. And I'm honored to occasionally have the opportunity to join him. But, Litecoin experiencing a slight pump this year. Do you think that some of these alts are going to pump along with Bitcoin? If, let's say Bitcoin does break 10,000, are we going to see a coin market cap potentially over 300 billion?
You have to understand the dynamics of this. Okay, first, people have to understand crypto is a highly speculative asset class right now. I think as it matures, as more money comes into this space, you will start to see, things kind of slow down as far as the volatility. But with that being said, if Bitcoin goes, let's just say 20,000 sometime after the halving, which I think will happen, you're going to see a larger percentage gain in your altcoin portfolio. It just is what it is. And so it may even be non-discretion. It may be like all over the place. So you may have some shit coins, excuse my French, go up as well. So you just have to keep that in mind.
Hey, you don't have to excuse your French. We had Quote the Raven and Dave Collum on Wednesday, and I
missed that one.
I mean, I've done over 300 episodes, and that by far had more swear words than the rest of them combined. But that's okay. I don't want my guests need to be able to talk the way they want to talk. Litecoin is the right coin. TMM pointing out. Well, let's get into some of the news. We are seeing the consequences, as Gerald and Greg alluded to, in the market as a result of basically turning off the market and locking everyone down. Got this article here from John Rubino of dollarcollapse.com. John's going to be joining the show on Tuesday, so I'll get to talk to him about it. But I wanted to get your take on this, CB, because I don't happen to know anybody who's done this, but his article entitled, "Will Airbnb's Implosion Trigger a Housing Bust?" He writes, "It seemed like such a good idea at the time. Airbnbs were the next wave in hospitality, taking market share from hotels and motels, and backed by a tech network that made running a virtual bed and breakfast fun and easy. So you just borrow a bunch of money, you buy a couple houses and put them in the system, and at first works. Your properties fill up, your reviews are great, and you have great cash flows. Then out of nowhere comes a pandemic, and the sharing economy suddenly looks patently absurd. Ride in other people's cars, no thank you. Sleep in other people's beds, gross." So what's your take, man? I mean, you're a little more conservative about this coronavirus because it's impacted you personally. I think this article probably resonates with you a bit. What's your reaction
absolutely.
to John's words?
And I just want to say before, I'm actually pretty shocked that Gerald Celente thinks that this virus is a non-factor. I mean, it definitely is. I'm in Michigan, and I did see the protests going on, and it's very sad, man, because it's really killing a lot of people. I'm talking to friends and buddies. It's affected my family. We know a few people who have passed from this, and we know even more people who have passed from this. So it's not something to play with. To the other conversation or argument could be had whether or not or how long you should keep the economy kind of locked down, and at what point is it doing more damage than good. That's a whole nother conversation, but definitely this thing is serious. I think I just saw Georgia just had another 1,000 cases in a couple of hours.
Wow.
Yesterday,
And they're one of the
yeah,
states that
so
opened up.
they're one of the states that opened up. Sweden, another misconception that people are saying Sweden is doing fine with. No, they're spiking. They're going out of control with the number of cases. So I think people should really take this seriously. Now, I think the whole gig economy, he called it the share economy, same thing. The gig economy is structurally going to change, man. I think the ride sharing thing is going to be an issue for a little while. Airbnb is going to get hit hard. Those individuals are going to get hit hard, man. So until you see people on planes, Phil, you won't see those types of businesses doing well. And I think that's going to be quite some time before that happens. It's not the end of the world. I have to continually tell people I'm not a fear monger. I don't think the world is ending from this. I think at some point there will be probably a vaccine. Hopefully, there's even talks about that not being possible as this being a coronavirus. But I think pharmaceuticals, something will occur where if you do get this virus, it won't be necessarily a death sentence for you or for some. So yeah, that's where I am with that. I think those industries are in trouble.
Yeah, I just can't get over how quickly our debt got run up as a result of this. I put this US debt clock up as Gerald and Greg were talking. Do you realize we're approaching 25 trillion? Like, this happened literally overnight. And what's really scary, CB, is that our wise overlords in government want to take us deeper into debt. This article coming from Bloomberg rather.
Insane.
Pelosi says states and cities seek $1 trillion in next stimulus. I think this is going to cause even more civil unrest, CB, because as a lot of people have pointed out over the years, if you were a state that was smart with your finances, you had some austerity, you made good decisions, and now you're forced to bail out places like California, New York, New Jersey, this isn't going to sit well with you. And this is why I've always thought that the dollar is just a terrible currency, because we all have to share it. We're all stuck with it unless you opt out for plan B. But what's your reaction? I mean, $1 trillion, they just let that roll off their tongue like it's just a little bit of money.
You can't paper over this. They'll try to extend and pretend, but at some point, other countries are going to start looking at this and say, hey, what is really going on here? I think we're printing the most money out of any country from this pandemic. And it just lets you know that it's because we were a house of cards before this pandemic even started. So any little thing was going to cause this to cascade out of control. And so I know in that article, I did see that it talked about they were going to try to make sure those funds were for COVID related things. And so we'll see if that actually happens. We see what happened with the PPP program, that small business loan thing, how those funds were misallocated. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. But, the issue is the virus, and we have to get a control on the virus first before we can move forward. And if we act like it doesn't exist, that's fine. The virus doesn't care if you don't think it exists. It's still there, and it's a huge issue. So I do want to, if you can share my screen. I don't know if you can, but
I think you can on Zoom.
I have to. Okay, yeah. So on my screen, you'll see. I saw someone in the chat room talk about how they're counting more deaths because of the from COVID. Well, let's look at deaths in general, and this will give you a better picture of what's really going on. These are just raw death rates since the COVID hit our, and they're skyrocketing. So we can't, you can look at just raw data and see that this is having a huge impact on our country and our states. New York City, look at this, just skyrocketing. New Jersey, Michigan. So you have to look, you can look at it from that perspective. If you don't want to trust the actual COVID case numbers, look at just total deaths, and that'll give you an idea of what's really going on here.
Your message resonating with a friend of the show, James H. CB is right that the virus is real, yet it started out small, and the Fed knew with 100 dead out of 7.7 billion. Some people were chiming in while Gerald and Greg were speaking that, hey, this caught a lot of people off guard. They were saying it wasn't a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was a big deal early on because deep in my gut somewhere, I thought the government's going to react one way or another, and the reaction to the government reaction is going to be a big deal. I just kind of felt it intuitively.
That's my disappointment, Phil. And Max Kaiser talked about this. So we spend, taxpayers, I'm saying, we give these agencies, the CIA, the NSA, all these alphabet agencies, billions of dollars a year. And you're telling me you can spy on your own citizens with no problem, with success, but you miss this? I just, you can put blame on the WHO for somewhat colluding with China. Absolutely. You can put blame on China for manipulating the numbers, not telling us the truth out the gate. Sure. But at the end of the day, come on, guys, you have enough resources to know what's really going on here. And that's where my disappointment is with America.
Yeah. Well,
so
government's
it just exposes us, man. It just exposes us on so many levels. And I think the silver lining out of this, Phil, is that now we see how much we were reliant on China, and now that can change. Now we can bring those jobs back home, like Trump. It's funny, he wanted to do that anyway. Now it's going to be by force. We're going to bring a lot of those jobs home, right? So we're going to pay more for our products, but at least we'll be a country that actually creates wealth again. So.
Right. Well, I got a topic I want to bring up in a moment, but first, if folks want to call in for the last 10 minutes of the show and talk to me and CB live, do it. 646-558-8656. There's the code at the bottom. If you're watching on YouTube, just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the description. I put that at the bottom because I'm a smart man, CB. I didn't want people calling in and blowing up our interview with Gerald, and you know how that is. Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
In fact, I might put it up here so folks can call it. But let me get your reaction, CB, because the idea now is that Trump is saying, look, you know what? You owe us, China. You owe us big for giving us this virus. Why don't we just go ahead and cancel, say, $1 trillion in our treasuries, and we'll default on them, and that's how you're going to pay us back. What's your thought on something like that?
Well, a real life scenario to that, Phil, is that we're looking to cancel 500, I think, billion that we're supposed to pay to China through a federal savings plan that we have here in the States, and a portion of that fund, those funds were supposed to go over to China. They're talking about canceling that. Trump is looking to do an executive order to cancel that. So I think what we're seeing here is an escalation in rhetoric between China and us. My only concern is I just hope it doesn't get to a kinetic level where we're throwing missiles back and forth at each other, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to see that. I just hope we don't get that far. But at the end of the day, man, I think this is a good thing. We're waking up. Countries around the globe are waking up to how horrible the CCP is. We kind of turned our faces, turned our nose to a lot of the stuff they were doing just because we were getting cheap labor and cheap products. But now it's time to really make a change.
Well, as I said on your show with Trader of Futures and Maddie Greenspan, regardless of whether the virus came from China or not, I just don't think pointing the finger at them really helps very much. My grandmother
I hear you.
passed away in 2017 at the age of 92, and she still referred to the Japanese with a short-term epithet, a shortened word, right? She took it into her 90s, CB, and wow. I just don't think that's productive, and I'm afraid that a lot of people are going to live a long time blaming these people. There are a billion of them.
They are.
Most of them if not like 99.9% of them are not responsible for this. And I just don't think, we already have been fighting a war for 20 years with some people who unleashed hell on us on 9/11, right? So how productive has that really been? We could have been buying N95 masks and ventilators and all that stuff and making ourselves, really inoculating ourselves against something like this. So
yeah, no, I agree. That is the danger. That is a danger. And unfortunately, most people are going to look at it from a very binary perspective, right? They're going to say, oh, they're not going to say CCP is the problem. They're going to say China and Chinese people are the problem. And they're not. As you stated, I think it's just the CCP that needs to be eradicated, man. And unfortunately, we're not going to look at the majority of the people. You and I will be able to differentiate and see through the bull, but a lot of people aren't. They're going to have that xenophobia phobia type of ideology toward them. So it's unfortunate.
Shoot, John Kim's trying to call in. He's asking, what's the meeting password? I got to figure this out. He's the second person who's at that. Isn't it just that code at the bottom there?
Oh, no, you must have had the password included in there when you set up you have to uncheck
You know
that
what I'll
box.
do? While you're talking for a second, I'll just DM John Kim the thing if he's trying to join us.
Yeah, do that.
10 minutes.
So let's see what we have in the chat rooms. Looks like Gulag says we're blaming the CCP. Yeah, I mean that's who we should be blaming. That's definitely who we should be blaming, not the Chinese people. But a lot of people, who don't follow this stuff, they're going to blame Chinese people. It just is what it is, man. We did it with 9/11 initially. We looked at everyone who had a turban on as a threat, and that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, frankly, I don't want people to blame me and say that I'm responsible for what my government does. So if I'm just, a kid that was born over there trying to do the best I can, why should I live the rest of my life people saying, hey, you're responsible for that Wu flu? Wuhan is like bigger than New York City.
It is.
I mean, that's almost like comparing. You're up there in Michigan. I'm down here in Virginia. You know what I mean? It'd be like if somebody blamed you for something that happened down here. It's like I have no connection to that. I live in a completely different state.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there again, I mean, anyone who would believe the numbers out of there is come on now. You just look. And I put a tweet out a month and a half ago when Italy first surpassed China. I said, come on, guys, really? What is going on in Italy is the truer reflection of what that virus can do, and when getting out of hand. So again, I just think we can have a discussion about who did it, when they did it, how they did it, but to say it's not a real threat to society. I personally think, Phil, this is not doing the 1% any justice to have things locked down. What do you think?
No, I don't think
They're
so.
losing money from this, right?
I think pitchforks will eventually come out because people aren't going to be happy with seeing the stock market. Oh, hey, real quick, we got someone trying to join us. Someone very special. Let's see if we can get him in. Yeah, I'm anxious to hear his 2 cents.
Yeah.
Here he comes. Let me get myself.
There we
off
go.
There. Man, I gotta fix this screen. This is a mess. People are getting a live look.
Unmute yourself, Johnny. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, there he goes.
Yo, bro. I was watching Blood, right? Celente and everybody was just talking, just going off, right?
Hey, man.
I see Blood. He's all lean.
Yeah.
And his blood is just boiling. He just want to say something. But
I gotta man, Celente is a legend, bro. I can't talk any bad. I can't even I'm not even gonna have that debate with Celente, man. He's a legend.
Blood, I'm telling you, man, it was like watching a comedy show. His first time seeing Blood just kind of like silent and quiet. Usually he jump in and be like, but no, Kobe is for real. We ain't playing with that shit.
Nah, not
like,
Celente, man. I respect Celente.
All right, well, real quick, for the audience's sake, because not everybody knows the great John Kim, Chief Litecoin Evangelist. You can find him at John Kim 77. Pictured there with some heroes of mine, especially that white-haired man there in the tie on the left side. John Kim, your reaction to the interview we just did with Gerald as well as Greg.
You know, I get a lot of trolling these days. That's why I decided to troll Blood today, because I wanted to know if it's fun, and it really is fun. And I've been getting trolled a lot because people think that I have a strong set of beliefs, but I don't. I have beliefs that I hold loosely, which means at any point, if somebody comes at me with more information that's correct, then I'm willing to change my mind. I'm willing to say, hey, I was wrong, right? And I think that's the beauty of a man who's lived life and realized that we only know a fraction of what's really going on in this world, right? So Celente went off, man. He went off. He spoke with conviction.
Yes, he
I don't
did.
think 100% right, but I mean, you got to trust a man with that much experience in life and in finances. So I take it with a grain of salt. I put it on my shelf until I find out that it's BS, and I take it off the shelf. But anybody who makes a good point, I put it on my shelf and I do my own research, and I either take it out or I leave it on there. So I think it's important. You know, there's an old saying, think about why the fence was there in the first place before you remove the fence, right? There's a lot of things in this world that the older generations know and are correct. Just because we're new and young, that doesn't mean we get to replace everything that the old generation has put into place, right?
Yeah.
So we just got to be careful what we push and what we don't push. But at the same time, just like Blood and you, Philip, we need to ask questions. We need to be able to present facts that we think is facts and allow other people to disprove or prove it. And I think that's the most important thing about Blood and Philip Kennedy is they're not coming at you with, hey, this is my fact, and if you don't get off my, unsubscribe, I don't need you on my show, kind of that. Yeah. It's just like, hey, this is what I feel like is true, but you have all the right in the world to say otherwise. That's why when I get on Crypto Blood's show, we don't agree on some things,
right?
But I can still have fun with them, and just look at this. I'm fat. I'm just jealous of Blood's lean, straight.
I'm trying to do the chest.
Looking all nice.
I'm trying to do the chest. I know you can do that. I can't. I'm not there yet. I got a few more push-ups to do. All right, how's it going down there, John Kim?
Hold on, real quick before you guys hijack, my show here. This is Kennedy Financial, right? It's not the Masked Singer. It's not my two Satoshis. I do recommend those shows though, and tune in, Wednesday and Saturday night, and get on Crypto Blood's channel. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna wrap up the episode so that doesn't go over an hour. I'm gonna continue to record between myself, Blood, and John Kim. Put that on for the Patreon subscribers.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that round table over at Phil Kennedy's YouTube, KF Financial. Check them out. I'll have a link in the description below. That's it, people. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell to receive more videos like this. I'm out of here. Holla!